Rejoice! Wei Wuxian is dead! It hadn't been a day since the siege of the burial mound, and the news had already flown across the entire cultivation world as if it had sprouted wings. The speed was only comparable to how fast the flames of war had spread back then, if not faster. Suddenly everyone, whether they were prominent clans or rogue cultivators, was discussing this operation of vanquishment that had been led by the 4 great clans and attended by hundreds of sects both big and small.
Oh, fantastic! Fantastic indeed! Who was the hero who killed the Yiling Patriarch?
Who else could it be? Ain't it his shidi, the little sect leader Zhang Qiang? The 4 major clans fronted the attack: the Jiang clan of Yunmeng, the Jin clan of Nanling, the Lan clan of Gusu, and the Nie clan of Qingge. Crushing family for the greater good, they destroyed Wei Wuxian's good old lair, the burial mound.
I must say, well done.
Someone immediately clapped and exclaimed in agreement,
That's right, well done. If it wasn't for the Jiang clan of Yunmeng, who took him in and raised him, then Wei Wuxian would have been a no-name street rat in the countryside. Never mind him becoming anything else. The former Jiang sect leader raised him like his own son, huh? But look at him, publicly defecting from the clan, making himself an enemy of the world. He's embarrassed the Jiang clan of Yunmeng utterly and almost doomed them to the same fate of extermination. What do you call a traitor? Him?
I can't believe Jiang Qiang allowed that guy to run amok for so long. If it were me, I wouldn't have just stabbed him when he first defected. I would have cleaned the house. He wouldn't have even gotten the chance to do all those crazy things. What does a childhood friendship matter when facing people like him?
That's not what I heard, though. Didn't Wei Ying's demonic cultivation backfire, causing him to be ripped apart and devoured by the ghosts under his command? I heard he was chewed to pieces while still alive.
That's what you call karma. I've wanted to say this for a long time now, but those ghost generals he raised were like a pack of unleashed mad dogs, biting people everywhere. And in the end, he got bit to death himself. Well deserved.
Be that as it may, if the little Jiang sect leader hadn't been the one to plan this siege based on the Yiling Patriarch's weaknesses, then success would have been difficult to guarantee. Don't forget what Wei Wuxian had in his clutches, or how over 3,000 renowned cultivators were all completely annihilated that night. Wasn't it 5,000? 3,000, 5,000, they're all the same. 5,000 is more believable.
He really is completely mad.
He destroyed the Yin Tiger tally before he died, so he at least gets some credit for that. If that evil thing was left to cause harm in the world, his sins would only deepen.
The moment the Yin Tiger tally was mentioned, there was suddenly silence, as if everyone was wary of something. A moment later, someone sighed.
Man, speaking of that Wei Wuxian, he used to be a young master in an extremely affluent and distinguished cultivation sect back then. It wasn't like he had no accomplishments. He gained great success in his youth. How glorious and unbridled he was. How did he end up on this path?
The subject changed, and voices were raised again in heated discussion. It's obvious from this case that the path of cultivation must always follow the righteous way. The demonic path is only glorious for the moment. You think it looks so glamorous? Look where that got him.
Death without a corpse,
a voice replied forcefully. It's not all because of the cultivation path. At the end of the day, it's still because Wei Wuxian was someone of bad character. He roused the wrath of the heavens and the grudges of men. You know what they say. What goes around comes around. The heavens are watching. After Wei Wuxian's death, judgment of his character was no longer refutable. The discussions were mostly the same, and any small voice of dissent was immediately squashed. However, gloom still firmly enveloped everyone's minds. Although the Yiling patriarch, Wei Wuxian, had died at the burial mound, the remnants of his soul couldn't be summoned. Perhaps his soul had also been ripped apart and devoured by the millions of ghosts. Or perhaps it had escaped. The former would naturally be a joyous occasion for the entire world. However, the Yiling patriarch had the ability to topple the earth and move mountains and seas. At least, that was what the legends said. It would be no great task for him to resist soul summoning if he desired it. If his spirit returned in the future, if he took over a body and was reincarnated, then the cultivation world, the entire mortal world in fact, would be cursed to face even greater vengeance, sinking into an endless storm of darkness and blood. And so, when the 120 stone beasts required to seal a mountain were set at the peak of the burial mound, every major clan began conducting frequent soul-summoning rituals. They also strictly monitored for cases of possession, sought far and wide for abnormal occurrences, and heightened their security to the max. In the first year, all was peaceful. In the second year, all was peaceful. In the third year, all was peaceful. In the 13th year, all was still peaceful. Thus, more and more people finally came to believe that perhaps Wei Wuxian had not been that amazing after all. Maybe he really had perished. Even though he had once turned the world upside down, there had at last come a day when he was the one overturned. No one could be worshipped on the divine altar forever. Legends were merely legends. Hello, friends. This is Red, and if you enjoyed that little snippet of Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, also known as MDZS, then please follow the link below to a full fan-made audiobook. This drive includes all 5 novels of Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, as well as extra chapters 1, 2, and 8. As a disclaimer, this is a completely unofficial reading, and due to that fact, the full audiobook cannot be posted on the public internet. Otherwise, please feel free to download and share these files as you wish, or pass the link around to anyone that might enjoy listening. Thank you for checking out my reading, and I do hope that you enjoy.